can hear us. So yeah, they probably can hear me. Hold on. Say something now. All right, we're going live in five, four, three, two, one. I guess we should say good afternoon, good evening. Hopefully everyone's doing well. So give us some ones and throw them up in the air if you can. Throw them up in the air. Throw them up in the chat. Let us know that you can hear us okay. Make sure that the music is not too loud or drowning us out. Okay,
Two,
Grant.
2, 1, 2. Mic check. And wave them like you just don't care.
Really, this is what we doing.
I mean, I thought I heard somebody say some kind of. Never mind.
What are we gonna do with it, Pamela? What are we gonna do?
I don't know. That was just too funny. Because I was too ready to wave him like you just don't care. I was about to join in with him. I'm sorry.
Yes, no sellout. It's contagious.
Peace, all. Peace to the chat. Peace.
Yeah, exactly. Now that we've got 7 healthy chuckles out the way, we wanted to do a community spotlight that was long overdue. And for many of you who are, on with us in the Grand Rising, on the cab, you're very familiar with Pamela Hall. We've done a community spotlight with her before. So, we want to make sure that we keep everyone abreast of what's going on and about her journey and how things are going. So Pamela, for those who are just now tuning in, or this may be the first time they tune into a community spotlight, or for those who may have, seen your chats and other platforms but have never heard your voice and know who you are, can you give us a little bit of information about yourself?
Okay. Peace to the chat again. My name is Pamela Hall. I was born and raised in Virginia. As far as I know, all of my people have came from Virginia, and some have came from overseas, but you'll see that later. But most of my people was born and raised here in Virginia. I'm a mother of 3 very intelligent children, and I'm a grandmother of 8 smart grandbabies. I have my whole life still ahead of me, even though I'm quarter of 100. I still still feel like I have my whole life ahead of me. So I'm just on a journey that I don't want to get off. It's like a ship that keeps sailing and sailing and sailing. And I just don't want to get off of it yet. So I'm trying to get as far as I can with my genealogy. Get back to uh, who my people were. Live like my people did, and enjoy life.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
Hmm.
When you say, when you know, because you've been doing your genealogy for a while now,
Yes,
and what area do you currently live in, if you don't mind telling us?
Richmond.
You're in Richmond, okay, which is
Hmm.
capital of Virginia.
Yes.
And your genealogy, one of your, or two or three of your lines have led you to which tribe or which tribes?
Um, on my grandfather's side, I'm gonna show you if I can pull a picture of these two up.
I'll go ahead and share the screen. Give me a second.
Mhm.
Gonna do a transition so they hear the annoying music. So go ahead. Hold on. All right. So now they can see what you can see. So your grandfather's people are the Pamunkey, and your grandmother's people are the Monacans. And for those of you who are familiar, the Monacans are a branch of Sioux. And the Pamunkey, they're part of the Powhatan clan, correct? Powhatan tribe. Mhm. So at one particular time, all these tribes were under the Powhatan Confederacy. I didn't know that. So you had the opportunity to do your genealogy, do your research, and found out that you can tie into the Monacans, or the Monacans, as they prefer to be called, and the Powhatan tribe. So, which tribes have you reached out to thus far to get some further information on your genealogy? we're glad that they reached out to you. So that was the good news. They reached out. They sent you an application. So when you looked at the application, what was the shock that you received when you read the application? Yes, we can see it. Now, when you say you have to go back 10 generations, that was something that was said in the letter, or that is okay. Okay. How is Pamela coming through now? Can y'all hear? Can y'all hear better? Mic check, mic check. Can y'all hear Pamela all better now? Give me some ones if y'all can hear better. Well, she had Pamela. Go ahead. Go ahead and continue talking and see if we can. Okay, so they're saying they hear me, but they don't hear you. So I can hear you. So let me try something right quick. Um, let's see. Let me do it this way. I'm gonna go ahead and mute everything out right quick, and then rearrange everything. Give me one quick second. Mic check, mic check. Pamela, give us a mic check.
Mic check, mic check.
Let us know if y'all can hear Pamela now.
Mic check.
All right, cool. See, that's what happens when you try to do something new. End up messing everything up.
Yeah.
Okay, so we ain't gotta take it from all the way to the top.
I hope not.
So we found out that you were. They sent you an application. They responded rather quickly,
Mm-hmm.
but you had to do
Got to do 10 generations.
10 generations.
Yes, 10 generations.
Okay.
And I forgot all about my grandmother Rosa.
Mm-hmm.
Her parents. I still haven't found her parents neither.
Wow.
So that's 3 grandfathers, 2 grandmothers that I have to keep looking for, and it's crazy because my grandpa Jordan was married twice. His first wife passed, and then he ended up marrying a lady that was from North Carolina. And I'm trying to think. Let me pull up my grandma.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and share the screen again. So give me a second.
Okay.
All right, they can see your screen now.
Okay. This is my grandmother Rosa Branch. Let's see. And her father and mother are Rachel and Jordan. So these are his 2 wives. He married a Franny Branch, and then he married a Rachel, but Rachel was his second wife.
Mm-hmm.
And so I still have to find their parents, which a lot, like I said, a lot of stuff was burnt down. So they also was down in where he was in Virginia. I think he was down near the same place, Sussex, Virginia. And like I said, she was from North Carolina, or Amelia, I'm sorry. She was from Amelia County. And this lady, Franny, was the one that was from North Carolina. So that was his second wife. Franny was his second wife. Rachel was his first. I'm sorry, I had it backwards. So trying to find grandparents it's a journey. So I'm gonna have to go take some trips this summer, closer to. I'm probably gonna have to go down to like Jarrett, Virginia, and see if I can find a courthouse down there, because that's another courthouse I haven't visited yet. I did go to Sussex. I did go to Petersburg. I did go to Dinwiddie. And I think I'm gonna have to make a trip out to Amelia to get information, and Charles City. So those places I'm planning on hitting this summer, as hard as I can. But I'm gonna try to hit them before, in the next couple of weeks. I'm gonna try to hit them hard because I'm trying to get all this information together. Don't want any grass growing up under my feet.
Right. So, Grand Rising Macadon 1, David Corey, Afwood Jones, Smoking Big 06.
Grand Rising.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm used to saying Grand Rising. Peace. Oh, all of a sudden you want to say something now. You ain't said that in the last 15 minutes.
I'm just saying.
Whatever. Anyway. Stop it. So we're talking to Pamela Hall, and she's talking to us about her genealogy and some of the good news and some of the challenging news that she's had dealing with the genealogy and also tying it to the tribes. And one of the things that James has said, well, he said two things. Um, how is it that somebody can tell you you don't belong to the tribe if they haven't even looked at your genealogy? Number one.
Right.
Number two, what you may want to start doing is recording the conversations.
Well, I haven't talked to anyone on the phone. I mean, other than the other ones, like Chickahominy. That's the only one I talked to on the phone, and that was months ago. I reached out to Pamunkey through email, so I really never got to talk to them on the phone yet.
Okay. Well, you know that you don't have to. You can actually record using your phone when you talk to them in person if you choose. Like, for instance, when you go to the courthouse, I would
Hmm.
record those interactions.
I will, because I remember I told you last night when we went to Sussex, about my grandpa James Frazier. Um, we were asking the genealogist there, um, if he could look up, because we knew he was from there, look up his parents and give us information on his parents. And I told you last night when I was talking to this man, he was off, way off. It's like he was he 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 looked like he clenched his behind and his teeth together so tight because he didn't want to let any information out. And that's how he looked. And my son was like observing him. So when he walked off, my son came to me, he said, Mama, he's lying. I was like, yeah, I peeped that. And so he was like, let's just wait and see. So he came back and he was like, oh, well, um, the Frasers been left here, so we really don't have any information on them. But it's been such a long time. And I was like, okay, so did he have land here? And he was like, well, I don't know. And my son ended up finding the paper for the land. He just looked over in the book, and there was big as day, James Frazier, and my grandmother's name. So my son brought it to my attention. I said, can I have a copy of this? So he was like, yeah, we charge for the copy. I said, that's fine. And so I paid for the copy. And as we were leaving, he went back into his office. But before we could get in the car good, this man came running out the building as if he was going to tell something to someone. And he just ran across the street and he ran into the post office, but he didn't have a letter in his hand. And my son and I and my mom, we just sit there and watch him. My son was like, Mom, look at him. Going to tell something. I said, yeah, I got that feeling too. So it's like he was hiding something. And I was trying to figure out, if you're the genealogist down there, why would you hide information from a person's family? What is it about you? What about this person that you don't want out? So that was the question that plagued me for a minute. And then when I started really listening to people and doing my own research, I was like, okay. So, and then I talked to a cousin and she was like, well, Daddy always said that we were closer to Pocahontas than you would believe. And I was like, okay, whatever that means. I've been trying to put them pieces together. So it's like a lot. So,
So note to self, something to take into consideration for those of you who are going out to these smaller counties with courthouses and their genealogists. Record the event, because what that does is that basically puts that person on the spot, and you get to record their actions, you get to record their responses, and it's no longer your word against theirs. Cameras don't blink and microphones don't go deaf. So
yeah, so for now, yeah, I will be recording a lot of recording a lot. So I'm gonna have to really make sure I clear my phone out a lot of crazy stuff. Um, But anyhow, so on my journey, I found out some information about one of my grandmothers, which is
Mm-hmm.
Sturtevant.
All right. Go ahead, share it.
Now, Anne came from, and I found out that Juno is actually considered as John. They just say Juno.
Hmm.
Yeah. Juno and Harriet Epps. And so, getting to that information, we're going to go with Juno's first. Um, Juno's father and mother are Captain William Epps and his mother name was Patience Morrison. And they were around in 1765 and 1755. And that's as far as I've gotten with John's parents. I haven't been able to get the father's mother or father or the mother's mother or father or any of that. But then if you go over to Miss Harriet's side, you come up with a long, very long list.
Okay.
So my grandmother Harriet, I have to respond to them as that. I had grandparents named Frederick and Mary Battle. Now, Frederick Battle um, came from Robert Battle and Martha Peterson. Now, Robert Battle came from Robert, and they spell it Deacty, Beatty, and Mary Stratton. Now, couldn't get any information on his parents, but I did get information on Mary's parents. And her mother name was Martha Shippey.
So let me get this straight. You are back in the 1600s, mid 1600s.
Yes.
So you run across any slaves yet in your family? No
No.
slaves, no Africans.
No.
But you're in Virginia, and this is Henrico County,
Yeah.
and this is 1659. So Martha Shippey born a slave.
No.
Okay, just checking.
Hold up.
But I didn't get to see who her potential father was. Would y'all like to share that with me?
Would we like to share who her father was?
Yeah, you want to see it with me?
Sure. Let's see who her potential father is. Get your hard hats on, people.
Thomas Shippey, 1633 in Henrico, Virginia, and death before August 9th, 1684.
So is this something that just came up, or
Yeah, this is something that just came up.
wow?
Yep, something that just came up.
It's interesting because it looks like the closer you get to the truth, they only give you one parent. It's like they're
Right.
giving you every other parent.
Right.
Now,
Right.
there was something that you was telling me that you had noticed when it came to doing your genealogy, and the closer you got and the further back you went. What did you start noticing as far as the appearance of them changing stuff or hiding stuff or not giving you access to stuff?
Yeah. A lot of times I will run across something like this where I will get the mother, but not the father, or I get the father, but not the mother. So I'm like, okay, if I'm not getting the father and mother, they must not be in European. Because most of these people you see here are Europeans, or they came from a European line.
But let me ask you this question: does it, in many cases, delineate what their race was or what their ethnicity was?
No, it just say you. It would just say, and I'll show you. Uh, Let me go back, um, so you can see for yourself. It would just say where they're from. It wouldn't give you if they were white, black, purple, green, blue. It wouldn't tell you anything like that. It'll just tell you where they were from. So,
Now we happen to have James Flames, aka Doodle Vision, in the chat in the panel as well. So anytime you feel that you want to add something,
mm-hmm.
James, go ahead and speak to it because you know more about this as far as the genealogy than we do. Just put it out there.
I just want to say before we go any further, Sister Pamela, can you count how many generations that is so far?
So far with Grandma Ann, I think it's way over 10.
That's
That
all you need. You keep going. You keep going for your record, but that's all you need to shut down Michael Bolton, that chief, whatever he calls himself. He looks like Michael Bolton or Bon Jovi.
well, the new chief is a lady for Pamunkey. The new chief is a lady.
Oh, so they booted the guy that was all on CNN, and I remember him being on CNN. I think it was about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, the new chief is supposed to be a lady, from my understanding.
Oh, well, that's good to know.
Well, I was glad that I could share that with you, Doodoo Vision. Um, so we're gonna take a look at my grandmother, Sarah Landers. Now, she is from Dinwiddie, 1725. But when you check her background, her father was also born here in Virginia in 1690. Then you go to her mother, which is Mary Shepherd, and she was born in 1695 in Brunswick, Prince George, Virginia.
Can you click on that family crest for us, please?
Sure. I'm trying to make it big for you. See if I can open it up in the new. There you go. Do you see that?
Yeah. So James, what are we looking at? If you're able to break this down, or anybody that might be able to, that's on the panel that might be able to break it down. Anybody in the chat? That's it's an interesting crest. I just don't know what it is or how it's broken down. So
all I see is maybe tomahawks, and that's about some flowers or maybe.
Yeah, I can't make out what type of what that is. Like actually in the main portion there of it.
So.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing. I just want to see if we can, people get a look at it just to see what it is. Now, for those people, Pamela, who are, well, of course, because you've gone back further than I have, that may be discouraged or frustrated that they haven't gone back as far as you have, can you tell them how often you work on your genealogy?
Put it like this, I have no life. I work on this every day.
So
While I'm listening to the cab in the morning. So sometimes if people speak to me and I don't speak back, it's because I'm on my genealogy page working. And Um, I work during the day. I might take a break, maybe do something else. Probably about 8, 9 o'clock at night, I'll hop back on, go back to working on what I was working on. So all these people that you see now have been added in the last month and a half.
Okay.
So yeah, I put a lot of work and effort into a lot of stuff. Um, I'm gonna tell you, it does get frustrating. But if you really want to know the truth, you really want to research who you are, you want to really live like you're supposed to live, um, just go for it. Just sit down and just start opening up stuff. Start researching who you are. Because I mean, even though I know I have European in my family, I was upset about it. Don't get me wrong. I was really upset about it. But the more I thought about it and the more I learned the history of Virginia, then I understood why I ended up with so many Europeans in the family.
Yeah.
Because our people was never hateful people. We fought for what we supposed to have fought for. We protected who we supposed to protect it. And if someone needed our help, we would help them. And that's how our people was. So a lot of these Europeans were dying by the hundreds. And some of our people was actually help taking care of them. So they would end up intermarrying our people. So I understood it after I learned the history. So it was a lot easier for me to accept, okay, I got um, a lot of mulatto grandmothers, or I have a couple of European grandparents. So I learned to accept it, um, and deal with it.
Right. Well, we definitely appreciate you coming up here sharing this information with us and helping people to understand that it does take some work and it's not something for many of us that's going to happen overnight. But the
Yeah.
work that's done, as long as you're saving it to a hard drive, will not be undone. Um, what's happening is that a lot of stuff that we're starting to have saved on our ancestry channels is either getting altered, deleted, or I know that you were showing me your page yesterday and you was trying to access a file and it wouldn't let you. It said you had to come
Right.
back.
Right. And I
So
try to accept that same file today.
so just make sure that when you are getting to your documents, please download them to your hard drive or to an external hard drive so that the next time you try to access them, it won't be a situation of where you can't either access it or it's no longer there, it has been moved, it has been edited, or has been altered. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yes. I'm gonna be going into getting me a extended hard drive so I can get all of this information off. It's a couple of other books on here I need to get off. So I want to get all that information off onto the hard drive. Um, but yeah, for anybody that wants to get started, get started. Um, like I said, um, my grandfather was very quiet. He was a meek person, so he didn't actually talk about, especially a lot about his family. Believe it or not, he lost his mother when she was 34. Um, he had just turned, I think, 12. He was in I think the 6th grade when his mother died. And his oldest brother had already left home. My grandfather actually raised the rest of his siblings until they were grown enough to get on their own. So when he worked two jobs. He quit school. He worked two jobs. Um, he sent his brothers and sisters to school. He had aunts and uncles, but they were, and this is what I was telling you about yesterday. Um, they were kind of color struck. I call it color struck. When the darker ones they didn't deal with, they just wanted to cutter to the more um, light skinned ones. So it was a lot of that curse in my family, and it's a curse that needs to be broken because we still to this day deal with that. Um, and so a lot of people gonna go through a lot of that in their family. You're gonna have some families that don't want to deal with this person because of this, and they don't want to deal with that. But they gotta realize one thing: you're all of the same blood. So I don't care how you feel about the next person, you still have the same blood running through you. So it's kind of stupid to hate yourself because you can't change your blood. So I just suggest that people got uh, any kind of conflicts in their families, fix it because you're going to need each other. You're honestly going to need each other.
Definitely can understand and appreciate that. Yeah, that has a tendency, the color struck or colorism does exist, and it is prevalent in a lot of our families, and it does need to be
Um,
fixed. Go ahead, Bones. You about to say something?
No, I was about to say it's one of the deepest things I heard somebody say all year. Respect for that.
Thanks, Bone. Well, I mean, I've been through it a lot. My grandfather, um, one thing he instilled in me because I'm in between two different generations. I think the oldest cousin is like 59, and there's a break in there, and then I come in at 52. So in between the older cousins and younger cousins, I'm the one in between. So my job was to always take care of the younger cousins because that's what he's instilled in me. So I try my best to um, instill in them not to hate each other because of how they look or what they got. So that's what I've done. So we have a lot of that still going on in the family, and I try to tell them, look, that's not how we were raised. That's not who we were cut from. You know, my grandmother, she left home at an early age too, and she even helped her younger sisters until they got old enough to get on their feet. But that's because they wanted to move from the country into the city. They wanted that city life. And so they lived with my grandmother and my grandfather. I mean, during the Great Depression, believe it or not, he bought three houses on a sixth grade education.
Say it again so they can hear you.
During the Great Depression, my grandfather bought three houses on a sixth grade education. Not only that, he had 12 kids of his own, plus his five siblings or four siblings, all in a two-bedroom house with an outhouse. But he had his chicken coop. He did his gardening. My grandmama made homemade biscuits. They were never without a meal. My two grandparents can actually make a meal out of anything, and I think that's where I got that from. Watching them for so long, they can make a meal out of anything. So if you can't, if you can't make a meal out of anything to feed your family, you're gonna be in a world of trouble, especially with the way the food is now. So you got to know how to survive. And I'm glad and thankful for my grandfather for teaching me how to survive.
Sounds like he was doing more than surviving, buying 3 houses during the Great Depression. People could had to stand in line and get loaves of bread. I'm just saying, that's just me.
But my grandma used to make her bread by scratch.
That's what I'm saying. So he was not surviving; he was thriving. There's a difference.
That's true. I'm sorry. Didn't hear the T.
Yeah.
But yeah. In that neighborhood, my grandparents was the first ones to get a car. They were the first ones to get a TV. They ended up moving into a 3 bedroom house, and they was the first ones with an inside toilet. So, and he did all of that off the little money he was making. He did all of that. So I'm proud to be cut from that cloth. I'm proud to be. I talk about it all the time. When my cousins get out here acting crazy, I'm like, man, y'all not doing anything. Y'all figure because you can have cars and they on rims and you can do this and that ain't nothing. That is nothing.
So Doodle Vision just told me to tell you to look at France's records. It says Virginia at that was Francois.
Right
Virginia
here.
at the time was Francois. So he's saying look at so can you so James, can you explain what do you mean? Because I don't think I'm saying it right. You mean France the country? You say look at France's records, or what are you saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
look at France's record because at that time, that section was not British. That section was Francois. That was that section there. I don't know if you still have the map that I put in there maybe a few days ago. That area was Francois.
You talking about Prince George, Virginia?
I'm talking about that whole area of Virginia where you're getting into the earlier portion of your family tree.
Uh-huh.
That some of those that came from across the waters originated or had some ties to France. Because Lemire, that's French. And then you have someone, you have Francis. See, then they used to name people where they come from.
Mm.
So start looking at France.
Oh wow. Thanks, Doodoo. But I mean, this one right here, John Wise. Now, I'm gonna put him up. Um, so
Yeah, you'll probably find Wise seems like that's some like a German type
now,
background.
hmm so I think this. No, he was from England. Do you see it?
I see it, and that still could be coming from a German background because England and Germany are really right there. They're not far from each other.
Okay.
It's just across the
Okay.
channel.
Okay. All right. And this was his mother. So it's like I'm trying to understand it. I'm really just trying to understand. Um, and it stops here at these two. And this was 1549. It just has England.
Now, don't forget, Pamela, that and this was something we was talking about yesterday. If you have the birthdays and death dates, and you know the county, don't forget the 50 resources on the consciousassembly.com, where you can actually go look at some stuff overseas. As long as you have the name, the full name, first name, last name, birthday, death date, in the county or the area, you should be able to
Hmm.
put the information in there with that just that individual and pull it up. You don't have to put in everything else. Just pull up that individual, put that information in there, and that should be helpful to you if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I'm gonna have to do that. I've been trying, like I said, I've been trying to get as much information as I can together about my grandparents because I'm trying to really I'm really trying to. I think, yeah, I'm really trying to get um, everybody together. Or I just looked at her. It was a grandparent. I'm trying to remember. Um, it was another grandparent I'm trying to look at, and I can't remember who it was. They had some strange stuff with them. Um,
Well, while you're looking for that, one of the things I wanted to talk about was a solution to deal with the Pamunkey chief, who may right off the face appear to be roadblocking. And what
mhm,
I suggested to you was um, have somebody in the tribe, doesn't have to be the chief, but whoever is in the tribe that's responsible for their economy and starting their businesses, have a
mhm,
conversation with us at the time to the assembly so we can see what programs are available for them. And once they
mhm.
realize that, you know, we sit down and talk to them or have a conversation or a phone conference with them, I'm sure what they'll realize is that if we're going to help them, more than likely they'll help you. Even if, you know, your family doesn't tie in, they will point you in the right direction because
Mhm.
we're coming with something and we're not begging anybody for anything. Because at the end of the day, we don't need them. They need us. And I'm not saying
Right.
that to be disrespectful, and I'm not saying that to be funny. But if they choose not to honor our ancestors, you know, they're gonna have to deal with the consequences and the repercussions. Like, we're not going
Right.
to touch them. We just, you know.
Now this is on the same side. Grandma Lavinia's Grandma Ann's people. Remember I told you it spread it out a little quite far.
Hmm.
Um, so going up to Mary P. Kelly O something, but actually her husband took her name. And Dudu, can you chime in on that for me? Was it strange for a husband to take a wife's name back in 1600s?
No, not at all. Because I have my seventh great grandmother that her husband took her last name. He was Guzman. I know people get it like Guzman, probably, but
Hey,
uh,
bro, you sounded really broken up, and
I understand.
it's hard to understand you, James. So if you could fix your mic, that would help. Just want to let you know.
man, okay, hold on. Let me try something. Let me do this. No, okay, is that a little bit?
A lot better.
All right. As I was saying, no, that's not unusual at all. I had my seventh great grandmother. Her husband actually took her last name,
Mm-hmm.
so it's not unusual at all. And again, because we were matrilineal, and if she were the one that was well off, then that husband, would actually take her last name to keep the
Okay.
name going.
Okay. Well, this is Mary Penelope Kelly or Colossus Edison Wilson. She was from Allen, Dublin, and she was, as you can see, an immigrant. And this is her grandmother in 1683. And she came from this lady, which I couldn't understand how she was born in Virginia and then her daughter, which is right here, born in Dublin, Ireland. I couldn't understand that.
Unless she was traveling back and forth, and the baby was happened to be born in Ireland during that time, and then she just came back to Virginia. That's the only way I could see it.
Yeah, I was like lost with that one. I'm like, how did this happen? And this is somebody named Captain John Kelly. Now, his mother and father, they have no information. I don't think no information on them. None. They just say Jeannie and Joe Kelly.
Well, that explains to you who your people are. Same thing as Brother Thomas just mentioned, that your relative was a captain of a ship, so they were going back and forth.
Mm,
Because you have to think someone had to bring those people back and forth to bring the immigrants over.
true. True. That's very true. But I mean, you have to ask yourself, um, where were the slaves at that time? You see what I'm saying? Because I mean, this was like around the 1600s. This is when they were supposed to be bringing all these slaves into Virginia, South Carolina, North Carolina. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am, you were on it. And that's the question I keep asking with all this going on and people going back and forth, and those that were coming over were starving, fighting for land, and they would come over here and they would work as indentured servants to work off the journey.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as all these going on the docks of West Africa and coming over here, it wasn't happening like that.
Right, because I haven't seen none of that. And like I said, they was telling, um, I've learned that, because like you said, the American Indians were here. They burned down most of everything. They couldn't say they were Indian or they were going to take them off the land and ship them to Oklahoma. And I think a lot of my family didn't want that. So I think a lot of them just settled for being that citizen. A lot of my family owned land. Uh, One of my grandfathers in Powhatan owned 58 acres. Uh, my grandpa Jordan, I think I found something with him. Uh, he had like maybe 20 acres or something like that. My grandpa James, I took my mom to see his land is still there. It's 13 acres. It's next to a factory, but it's still there. No for sale sign, none of that on it. It just has private property. Do not trespass.
Yeah, and you may want to check the county records because you may own the land that the factory is sitting on.
Hmm. Well, I have the actual land paper. I got his deed. I got a copy of that.
Oh yeah, well then you can check the dimensions of the lot, and I guarantee you that factory is sitting on your land.
Hmm. Would be nice. Get it up out of there. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. But it will just be nice for us to get the land. Um, I have so many things I want to do. Um, and having land will help me. Um, Most people know I love to garden. Um, and that's what I do every summer. But I always wanted to do it year around. And so I would need that land to do it year round. So, but I also wanted to share something else with y'all guys, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
It's a story of a grandparent. Um, um, and I got the biggest kick out of it yesterday because his name was Popular Foot John Woodson. And he's supposed to be a grandparent. But I'm not going to read it. I'm going to let y'all read it to yourselves. Put questions, because I'm still trying to understand it. How did he get that nickname? And other than having unusual large feet. But he did serve in the Revolutionary War, and this is the grandparent I'm having a hard time getting the information of the Revolutionary War. Now, when I checked him, they had two of them. They had this one, and then they had one that just his name was just John Woodson, and he was from England. But this one right here was supposed to be born in Virginia.
It reads that he was called Popular Foot John from the circumstances of his having unusually large feet. ... He served in the Revolutionary War and in 1800 represented Cumberland County in the legislature. He was considered a very eloquent speaker and a man of splendid physique. So what you could do is you could probably go to the archives of Cumberland and pull up some information on him being in the legislature.
I have to ride back up there too. I told you I got my summer is like really, really full. That's what I'm trying to get as much as the genealogy out the way as far as finding as many of my grandparents as I can, because I know I'm going to be doing a lot of traveling this summer, and most of it is right here in Virginia. But I take that back. All of it is here in Virginia. So just getting that information together and putting two and two together and being able to build my tree, because I'm eventually going to take everything off of here and try to do a wall size tree. Something that after I do, my family can take pictures for them to have for themselves.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, so that's what and I like to draw. Well, I'm not too good of a drawer, but I love to sketch a little bit. So sketching a tree, life-size tree, and putting my family there and where they came from. And
it's gonna be a big tree. It's a lot of branches.
When you got to look at it, we got a lot of branches out here. Yeah. All of us are connected one way or another. So all of us are part of that tree. They mention the tree of life, but the tree of life is everyone that's walking around breathing. You are a part of that branch. You are a leaf. Yeah,
LJ Free says her and her sister are planning something similar, so sounds like a great idea. Copper Indio, welcome to the panel. Being that you are what I would call a Tuscaroran brother who has been out in the streets of indigenousness and visiting tribes and doing your genealogy, is there anything that you would like to share that could potentially help Pamela Hall on her journey?
Actually, I would mostly concur with the idea of county records. There's a like literally a treasure trove of deeds and other records and newspaper clippings. I mean, even for like local papers and pamphlets and manifests and things like that. There's a treasure trove of records that are hidden in courthouses, state houses, and so forth. That's one place. I'm kind of at an end myself with a couple of parts of my mom's side of my tree, and it's difficult to get around it. But I'm finding a lot of stuff in county records, courthouse. And this is in Berkeley County in North Carolina. About 100 or so years after the Tuscarora War, 1711, and there's a lot of information there. There's things that you wouldn't think you'd be able to find are in places like that. And Pamela, looks like you've done some pretty extensive research, like like the others have said, I mean, that's the 1600s is way farther than most people get. And I'm not just talking about Aboriginal people; I'm talking about anybody. So that's impressive work. But um, wherever you find a roadblock or dead end, you can get beyond it.
Yeah, and that thank you for that, and that's what I'm planning on doing. That's why I refuse to give up on trying to find information on my grandpa James, grandpa Reuben, and then I have to add my grandpa Jordans to that bunch. Um, I'm refusing to let go, um, and so I'm gonna have to really do. I'm probably gonna have to go to North Carolina. Probably have to ride down to North Carolina to find out information about my grandpa Jordan because he did live down there for a little while. Um, so that's probably the furthest I have to go. But I'm did find a lot of land deeds for quite a few of my grandparents. And what I did, I got a copy of all land deeds. All land deeds I came across, I got a copy of them.
Well, okay, so quick question, because
Hmm.
James was wanting to know that when you was doing some research on John Popular Foot Woodson, when you was looking him up, I guess on the Revolutionary War records, you said that you came across two names. One said he was from um,
England
England, and the other one, what did they say? What did they say it was from?
didn't say. It was say he was from Virginia, but they didn't. What they did is when they add John Woodson, they say it was different, but they don't put the Popular Foot in there. It was just John Woodson. And then I found him married to the lady named Brain, but the other man was married to someone else. So once I seen that the other man was married to someone else and not the lady that popped up first, then I know it wasn't the same person. So sometimes you got to be careful with um, doing it that way because um, they would give you two different people, and it could be so you have to know either the husband or the wife and where they were. So I ran across that a few times where I might have add information, and I'm like, this don't sound right because that wasn't wife name, and so I had to remove them, and then it'll pop up again, and then I have to do a lot more extensive research on it to get the actual real person. And as you can see from my tree, um, I still have a lot of missing grandparents, and so that's what I want to find, those missing grandparents. So, like right here, and then my grandpa James and my grandpa Jordan. I really want to find their parents. I want to know who they were.
Well, at the rate that you're going, you'll definitely find it. You're putting in the work, and the results are actually showing. Um, so we will definitely keep everyone abreast of what's going on. We thank you for sharing this information because I'm sure it's been very enlightening for people.
Yes, I haven't gotten any more gray hairs from it, so I'm doing pretty. I was noticing a gray hair every now and then. I'm like, so I haven't got any more gray hair. So I think I'm doing pretty good. I don't mellow out now. I can just handle the pressure
Yeah.
because
Well,
this
that's
is a
good.
lot of pressure.
Yeah, it sounds like you not only gotten the hang of it, but you're picking up a lot of things, not only about history, but about the history of colonial history of these areas we now call states, and not the culture of the time, the laws of the time, and the people of the time, and that's a very important thing because it gives you context not only into your family but into what the society is and what it has been. If I could ask just really quick, what part of North Carolina were you looking at that these relatives were from.
Okay, that's on my grandma Rosa's side.
Okay.
Um, her father uh, was Jordan, and he lived a little bit down in um, North Carolina. It just says North Carolina. It doesn't say what part. It just says North Carolina. Um, and then he moved her back to Chesterfield.
Okay, because I'm looking at this, just kind of trying to paint a picture for not only yourself but everybody that can see this geographically. Chesterfield is near Enrico County, near the Richmond area, right? So
Right.
if you go south, we were a few weeks ago. We were talking about the migration of the Iroquois people. And many of them lived in the area that we now call Richmond, and the south of that area, which is Blackstone, Ottaway County, things like that. That's all south of Richmond, and Chesterfield is not that far outside of Richmond. I live in Virginia, so I have been to these areas a few times, and the Cherokees, Nottoway, and the Meherrin live south of that area. The Tuscarora lives south of them. And when you look at where the Roanoke River is, where the Meherrin River is, where the Nottoway River is, because these people, those of the people that are in this tree that are Aborigine people would have lived near these rivers. Also, settlers would have settled around these rivers because it was easier to get back and forth into and out of the land that way. So rivers are areas you want to pay close attention to. And so when you look as it goes south into North Carolina, you're talking like Roanoke Rapids and the Meherrin River. So those are two places that you probably, that's not necessarily where anybody ended up necessarily, but you want to look in those areas because that's where you had the most trade. That's where you had the most business. And whether you're talking about the people who were, from this area indigenously, or people who settled in that area to set up, their parts of the colony or settlement, they were doing that near the rivers. So that's just as a hint, and maybe not, a clue maybe into where you're going. That's probably going to, if not pinpoint a location, that's probably going to point you in the right direction, because if you follow the direction of those rivers, the way they flowed, you end up in some of the largest cities in the area. They're not necessarily the most populous, but that's where the trade routes were.
Yeah. Like my grandmother Rosa, that's where she was born at, in Chesterfield. And about a couple of years ago, they built what they call the Pocahontas Parkway. It cuts from 95 South at Chesterfield over the James to 64 right above Williamsburg Road. I mean Williamsbury area. So the bridge is quite long. And that area is basically where most of my grandparents were living and traveling.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that side is what they call the Tri-City area. So you're talking about Williamsburg, Yorktown, and Jamestown.
Yeah,
so all of that,
yeah,
all of that's in the same area.
Mm-hmm. And they found, when they was building that the Pocahontas, they found 2 burial grounds. They found arrows. They found pottery. They found quite a few artifacts in that area. And I wish I would have knew what I knew now. I would have actually wanted to see if I could get them artifacts, because I would like to know what they did with them. But that was the actual bridge. Some people thought it was a hoax, but after they made the bridge, they said couple of drivers, truck drivers, a couple of car drivers, they said the same thing. They said when they first finished the bridge, when they did the first crossing, they said they came across, and in the middle of the bridge was an Indian on a horse. Nobody believed them, but everybody kept making the same report. And I think about maybe 20 people seen it. But they ran across an Indian on a horse right on the bridge. So it's some history. It's a lot of history in Richmond. It's been covered up. And so trying to scrape the surface to get the information is what can really just it can make you feel it, I can't even get the words out right now, because the more I learn about my history, the angrier I get, then the happiest I get. So it's a mixed emotion. So, but just trying to learn all the history I can about Virginia is, and I've been here all my life. And we really never really got the true history of Virginia until now.
Well, just know that the work that you're doing will be work that your children's children will not have to do. So to make it easier for them to move forward, so they don't have to go back and redo what you've done, because you're documenting it, you're archiving it, you're saving it, and you're sharing it. So, what we all wish would have happened, for us, meaning if our parents, grandparents, great-great-grandparents, and what have you, had us save this information for us, it would have made it that much easier. So
Right.
Just know that you're doing something for your children and your children's children, for the next 7 generations, that should have been done for you. So it will
Right.
definitely be appreciated by your descendants.
Yeah. Well, I try to keep them, as I'm learning, I try to teach them too. Like I said, I got small ones. I got 2 of them that's in their teenage. So them 2 are the only ones that really understand. The younger ones, they haven't got a grasp of it yet. But the 2 oldest ones, the more I learn, I try to teach them. And it's to help them to understand who they are, so they don't have to be in a school and fall for that, you this person. They can straight up say, no, I'm an American Indian. I'm not that person. I'm an American Indian. I know who I am. I want my kids to have that pride to say who they are. And that's what I'm pushing for. I'm pushing for my kids to know who they are, to be able to live freely without them having to answer to someone, but they can have their own. And like I said before, I'm trying to start a legacy for my kids to carry on from generation to generation to generation. I don't want it to stop with my kids. I want it to continue, so it could be a continuous thing for decades.
Exactly. Well, we're here to help you. Anything you need from us, we're going to make sure it gets done. And we're definitely going to have to continue this as you continue to move forward and strive forward and continue to grow that large oak of a family tree that you have.
Yeah, I'm gonna grow it. I'm definitely gonna grow it.
So, what we'll do is we'll schedule a time to draft up a letter for you, so you can send it to the Pamunkey chief along with your genealogy tree.
Okay.
And then we'll just wait for a response, and we'll schedule a time with that tribe, and we'll see what's going on, because we'll be able to tell what their intentions are. Great thing about phone conversations, you can't hide your disdain, your angst, your anger, your frustration. Those things aren't easily hid. So we'll be able to discern if they're actually going to honor our ancestors. And if not, we'll deal with it legally, and then we'll move forward. But I definitely want to thank you for your contribution, for always showing up on the cab, being an encouraging force, doing your genealogy, taking the information that we present and actually doing something with it, being active in your community, uh, and reaching out to tribes, because that's what it's about.
No, it's
Um,
no, oh shucks, it's no problem. I just want to be like Doodoo Vision.
we all want to be like Doodle Vision.
I'm serious. Y'all laughing. I'm dead serious. I would love to be like him. He just has that. He has that authority in his voice. Like when he's. How can I put it? What's that? What's the thing off that game you used to play, Lemon? And he said he snatched his soul out his body.
Oh gosh.
You know when he talk, it's like he takes everything that you have and is just focused on him. And when he says something, it's like he just stops everything because it makes your mouth drop open, your eyes get big. And this is what happens to me when I hear stuff for the first time from him. My eyes get big, and I got big eyes anyhow. They don't need to get any bigger. My eyes get bigger, my mouth fly open, I stop breathing. I'm like, what did he just say? And sometimes I have to say, can he repeat that? Because I have to I'll be rewinding in my brain, but it doesn't come out like he said it. So I have to get him to repeat it so I can kind of click and I mean he just have that knowledge that a lot of us wish we had. I know I do.
Well, the good thing about it, Pamela, is that you're doing for your ancestors or your your descendants what his ancestors are doing for him. They did the work. They stayed tied in, and they were able to pass on that information. He's also been doing a lot of research on his own. So, to have that type of access is important. So many of us are trying to be that anchor for the family so that our 7 generations will be able to eventually have as much knowledge as one James Flame, Doodoo Vision, Choctaw, Jimmy will have. So, yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, that he be just shocking me. I'm like, gee, what did he just say? So I mean, I love everybody's brain. I'm the type I love to learn. When they made that old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. That was the biggest lie they ever told. Because an old dog always looking for new stuff to do, and I'm always eager to learn. So that's my thing. I'm an eager person. I love to learn. I love to listen to different people and compare notes and do some research myself. So it just all plays in very good together. So I want to say thank you guys for allowing me to share my family with you tonight. And I will try my best to keep going. Like I said, I'm never going to give up. I'm going to keep going. And I'm hoping I can help someone else get as far as I did if they need help.
Yeah, that's what it's about. Is there anybody on the panel that want to say anything before we head out? We close it up.
I just want to thank Pamela Hall for sharing her family tree with us. And I encourage anybody else to do the same because that would encourage other people to actually try to take on and tackle their family tree and bring other members of their family on to do the same thing. Because I got 3 members now of my family that are helping me with my family tree, or our family tree. So thank you, Pamela, for sharing with us your family tree and your journey And if anybody has any questions, comments, or concerns, email us at tauntonassembly@gmail.com.
Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Oh, thank you for being here, Sister Pamela Hall. I was gonna say the other part, but I won't because we're live. I appreciate you and your spirit and your willingness to share, because that means more to me than anything, that you're opening up and sharing and keep digging. And anything that we can do to help, please don't hesitate to let us know, because that's what we're here for, and that's what it's all about. Because you've gone a lot further in a shorter amount of time than a whole lot of us. And like you said, it takes a lot of dedication. So I admire your dedication, and keep striving on, because I know that this evenings, a live stream is going to encourage a lot more people to keep on and keep going on. And when you hit a roadblock every now and then, that's what we're here for, to see if we can, pull up a lot more information for you. But keep on that journey. And yeah, like I said, you've gone way past 10. So I'm interested to see the results after this. And I'm glad that they got rid of John Bon Jovi as the chief, because he was doing some underhanded things. So he was trying to get a gaming casino going on. So yeah, that's another subject for another time. So I'm glad that you all do have another chief, and just let us know what we can do, because I bombard them with letters and phone calls myself, and they be like, what in the world? They got people coming from all over, all over the United States sending us letters in protest, because you need your name on that robe. It's so important, not only to you, but those that are coming after you, your children and your children's children. With that, I yield the mic. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dilly.
Yeah, I want to echo that, Sister Pamela Hall. I want to stress that this is the work that the rest of this nation, the rest of the world, is waiting for us to get done. This is the work that the people who are keeping us from our families are assuming that we will never do. That some people have bet that we will never do, have banked on the fact that most of us never are interested in doing this. This is profound work. This is the work that reveals our families. This is the work that reveals what this nation is. This is the work that reveals our history, our human family, and what the world is and the universe is around all of us. This is how deep all of this goes. It's not just history. It's not just genealogy. It's not just science. It's not just law. It's all of it. It is every bit of it, because that is all part of our collective story. And this is a massive piece of that huge puzzle. And I congratulate you. And I want you to know that I'm rooting for you. We're all rooting for you to go as far as you can with this, to get on that roll, and to get this work done, and be an inspiration for all of us to get the same work done. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I second that notion. And just really briefly, if you don't mind, please give a big hello to Cameron and Mama Rose, and continue to inspire us. You are absolutely amazing. And I look forward to celebrating more milestones along your journey.
Thank you, sis. Thank you. Thank you, my angel wings.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Cameron.
That's not Cameron. That's not Cameron.
Who's that?
That's my grandson. That's the little one I'm raising. Well, he's not little. He's 16.
Well, okay. Well, hello to you, young man.
Did you say? You just said something. Won't you say it again?
Hi.
Okay, I won't put him on the spot like that. But nice to make your acquaintance.
Brother Bones, you want to take us out? Or is there anybody else that want to say anything before we head out?
Well, the only thing I would add is it's interesting to see when Pamela Hall was telling her story, that I'm so appreciative to hear and glad that she brought forward that it touched on things that we talked about in the Rising show over the last 3 Risings, about how certain families took on the woman's name. Some people tied back to European captains. That basically everything we talked about, she actually showed how it ties back in by doing the research for herself. Would like to say thank you on that. And other than that, it's always fun when we get to kick it with the relatives. And until the Rising show, peace.
Peace, everyone. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Peace, y'all.